My name is Gracie Bracco, and today we're going to be discussing the almond versus the almond. One question I would like you to ask yourself throughout the video is, what is an almond? The learning targets for today are that you will be able to differentiate between the almond on the tree and post-harvest. You will discuss the main differences between the pronunciation of the almond versus almond, and you will be able to identify what an almond is and where they are most commonly grown. The applicable standard today comes from the Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources Standards, and it is identify plants based on visual characteristics, which means you will be able to identify an almond compared to an almond based on physical appearance by the end of the video. So let's get into it. What is an almond? Almonds come from the almond tree, and they belong to the Rosaceae family. They are very closely related to peaches and cherries, and the almond is a fruit and a seed. They are extensively grown in California, and they are actually the top commodity in California, ranked at $5.6 billion in value. That being said, almonds are not tree nuts. When the almond is still on the tree, the L is included within pronunciation. Almonds typically will begin to take form within their hull between March and June, meaning they will be ready to harvest between July and August. This commodity is typically going to be harvested in those late summer months. When an almond is in fruit form, the L will become silent, and that makes this pronunciation almond. This will happen when the almonds are shaken off the tree and they become a fruit, or the most common name, a nut. But as we discussed a minute ago, they are not a tree nut. Nut just happens to be the acceptable term for this commodity, although they are a fruit and a seed. So why are they different? Why do we use the same word with the same spelling but pronounce it differently because it falls off the tree? Well, in order to differentiate phases in the world of farming, we typically will use different terminology. In California, we make a joke and we say we shake the L out of it, although that's not true and your friends will laugh at you if you say that. Farmers just use this as a way to determine what phase of growing they're in. So if their almonds are still on the tree, they're considered almonds. But once those get harvested, they're almonds. So let's look at the parts to an almond. We have the seed, the shell, and the hull. The seed, also known as the kernel, is the very inside, and this is the edible part. The shell will encase that seed, and it's the hard woody layer which is removed during shelling. The hull will be that thickest layer, which will protect the developing seed. Now, the difference between almond and almond here is whether or not that seed is still hanging on to that tree branch, or if it's been harvested. Let's test your knowledge. These are all questions that you should have learned throughout the video, and take your best guess. Let's see what you may have learned today. How well did you do? The correct answers are almond, hull, and California. So, the more you know. Now, you know the farmer's terminology. You can now say you know what an almond is, you know what an almond is, and you even know the parts to an almond. One thing to remember is you must always ask the farmer to take pictures with the pretty blossoms. If not, you can get fined for trespassing. But that's just a fun fact. Thanks for watching. And a little fact about me is that I am a proud granddaughter of a California almond grower. Thank you.